This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library
enough. You can get the Truefire All Access Pass for as cheap as they ever do it, the $99 thing. So just jump and do that if you're looking for the best price you can get Truefire All Access for.
So for me, there are not too many amps that I've wanted to try for years and years and not had the opportunity to. I've been personally down quite a long sort of rabbit hole of things like Mesa Boogie amplifiers, which still I kind of love the idea of, and there are certain Mesa Boogie amps that I'd be really happy to own again. In particular, the Lone Star stands out to me. But one of the things that I found with sort of the multi-channel amp thing was that people would say, you know, like, oh, it can do the cleans of a Fender or whatever and the drive of a Marshall, and it always seemed to me that actually, you know, you were actually missing out a little bit, and it did take plugging into a few actual Fenders to realise that there was something different going on with these. I think there's some amount of this which is maybe not going to translate hugely well in a video, but I don't know if any folks might be able to kind of jump into the comments and kind of share their feelings on this as well, because I think the first time really plugging into a Fender amp for me and having a bit of a wow moment was in a rehearsal room in Orpington, I think, or somewhere in London or Kent, and with my buddy Isaac, who I went to uni with, who's drummer. And I plugged into like a Silverface, I think either a Deluxe Reverb or a Princeton, but was just super enjoying like the feeling of just plugging straight into the amp and having what was coming back be quite responsive, quite direct and alive feeling in a way that up to that point the Mesa Boogie amps that I'd got familiar with and owned, the clean channels were just in comparison like a little bit flatter, a little bit more sterile, probably more reliable in some ways, because one thing I will say about every Fender amp that I've tried is that they're not quiet, even on cleans. If I had to whittle it down to just the one amp, I could be happy with just the Deluxe Reverb, and I did need to confirm in this video that it would work for one other job that I need it for. So the main kind of jobs that I see a Deluxe Reverb for, and this is going to be at most volumes, is it's going to be pretty much a clean pedal platform. So this is the normal channel, that's on 4 into the lower input, and the higher so that is louder than you get it at a gig volume really. Gigs tend really around sort of 2-3. And the thing is that it takes pedals incredibly well, but since we talk about the amp itself, I'm not going to include any pedals here. And then the vibrato channel, this reverb is kind of ridiculous. I will say that the EQ on the Deluxe Reverb, very responsive as well. So if you want more bass, it's kind of one of those things, right? Well, I'll turn down the treble, I'll turn up the bass. Or turn up the volume a bit. So it's just that kind of really sweet singing, clean tone that you get addicted to. If there's a downside to this, I think home and gig volumes, really all it's going to be is a clean machine. So if I get this up to like 3.5, even though it might sound like there's a little bit of breakup on it, and I think there is, it's coming at such a volume that it really kind of just comes across as clean. But I would honestly say it's one of those things where, like, if this was the last amp that I got to plug into, I don't think I'd be unhappy with it. It's a 12 dB boost going into it now. And I'm pretty sure that you got basically all of that 12 dB into the DAW as well. It is an amp with a lot of headroom. This is into the slightly lower input, sorry, which would have even more headroom. But yeah, I think it's just an incredible sounding amp. It takes pedals well. And not only that, so I thought this part here was important to me because I've got a gig on Saturday and the guy I'm gigging with, Lewis Corbett, is borrowing my Tonex cab at the moment. And I was thinking, right, what could I take to the gig? So I've got, either I could take my Henriksen Bud, which is solid state, and the Mesa Boogie EV, Mesa Boogie like 80s cabinet, open back 1x12 compact, with an EV speaker in it. But I was thinking, this doesn't have a tube effects return or loop or whatever. Will this work for this other kind of solution? So I tested this. Okay, I have not tried this before, but in order for this to be true, what I'm going to hypothesize in this video, I need to try this because there's one way that I've used tube amps before, which is sticking the FM3 or HX Stomp, any modeler, into the tube effects return. Now the Deluxe Reverb doesn't have one of those, but it does have two inputs, which this is what I want to try. Before I do that, actually, we can use this as like a pedal platform. So I've got a preset here which has no amp in it. And that sounds great. But what I'm more interested in here is, can we run this essentially, now it's obviously not entirely an FRFR type thing, but can we get it to do that kind of job and it not be awful? That's my question. So let's jump to moment of truth. Clean. We'll start with things like flat, rhythm, lead, and stuff if I want to. This is now about 2.5. Fender edge to it. If I go all the way up to 4, if I take bass down, right, so that for me proves that this, I think, does as good a job as many FRFR type speakers to me. That's kind of my take on that, at least. I'm going to take these off and turn this off. Now, having tested that, I am quite confident that that, to me, I like as much as most FRFR solutions that I've ever tried. And to that end, like, if I just had a Deluxe Reverb, it can do pretty much all of the jobs that I would need. If I've got a load box, I can crank it to do other things. Obviously, it's not going to do higher gain stuff particularly well, but given that it can take an FM3, what I was using in that part of the demo was like a Dumble HRM, into the front of this, I leave the IRs and everything like that on as if it was an FRFR, because Fender Clean is quite quite full frequency, right? That's one of the things we like it about it. That's just my opinion, really. Like, the Fender Deluxe Reverb, of all the amps that I've tried, I feel like this does so many things very well, but is not over-assuming, it's not overbearing. It's a lovely looking thing, like, looks classic, but is not going to draw attention. I think in terms of, like, the Dumble sound, for some of us, I think quite a lot of what the Dumble sound is just like a really good Fender Clean. And then the other kind of Fender or Dumble sound is something like, you know, the Robin Ford Zen Drive thing. But if you're thinking about Dumble cleans, to me, actually quite a lot of it is very much Fender based, which probably some of you might be thinking, isn't that a stupid thing to say? Which obviously I'm saying it, but at the same time, like, the Dumble stuff was based on Fender circuits, and so of course was the Mesa Boogie stuff. So, you know, as a platform for doing that Dumble thing, it's not a bad starting point. You find like a good drive pedal to pair with it, you're off to the races, I think. A Van Wielden Royal Overdrive into this is better than any Dumble clone than I've played, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you tried a Deluxe Reverb, I would say I don't think it's the best home amplifier. It's kind of loud. Well, very loud if you need it to be. Like, totally, absolutely loud enough to gig with. Unless you're playing with someone with a roaring plexi. I think a Deluxe Reverb is plenty. I'm interested in trying a Princeton reverb at home, but I don't think that they make a version with 12-inch speaker at the moment. So that's one thing I'd kind of been considering. Is that something I should try? That's up in the air for me, but until that point, I think the Deluxe Reverb for me is the sweet spot of amps, which is like, you can play it at home and get some fun out of it, can take it to a gig and it will keep up with pretty much any gig. And not only that, but as I found today, can actually work as an FRFR type device. You know, it works quite nicely. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.